Commission. And of course, Ms. Gooden, let's give you an opportunity to talk about some aspects of the Tennessee Human Rights Commission. And as we indicated earlier, when we introduced you, we said that you were the executive director. And so give us sort of an overview of the organizational structure of the Tennessee Human Rights Commission and how that structure sort of fits into the Civil Rights Act of 1964.
Okay. I'd be glad to. Here in Tennessee, we have 15 board members, commissioners, that are appointed by the governor of the state. 5 represent each grand division. So 5 out of West Tennessee, 5 out of Middle, 5 out of East Tennessee that are on 6-year staggered terms. In this area, for instance, some of our board members, our chairman is here in Middle Tennessee, Mr. Spencer Wiggins. Other board members, Dr. Joseph Walker just came on our board, Stacy Garrett, who's an attorney here, and so forth. We are very pleased to have the Reverend Billy Kiles, head of Operation Push out of Memphis, and very instrumental, as people know through documentaries. Was right there when Dr. Martin Luther King was killed. So we enjoy the legacy of having great board members like that. The board then turns around and formally hires the executive director. And from there, the executive director oversees the staff. We have 4 offices across the state: Nashville, Memphis, Chattanooga, Knoxville, and Memphis. We have a staff of about 30. Most of those on staff are investigators. Those are the people who get the complaints and investigate them, review them, and make a recommendation to the commission to act upon them. We have 3 people on our legal staff. So we have in-house counsel that reviews them. I want to give people also a sense of in terms of the level of review that takes place, because sometimes people just think that they're just people out there working independently, and they want to say, well, that investigator was biased, and that investigator didn't like.
As a charge?
Yeah, well, sometimes we have that happen. Sometimes we have a very diverse staff. We have 2 people of Hispanic descent on our staff, one of Czechoslovakian nature, 2 people from Africa. And sometimes with that diversity, people sometimes think that because someone maybe doesn't talk like them or look like them, that maybe somehow that they aren't equipped to understand their situation. But our investigators are fact finders. Their job is to gather the information, is to review the witnesses, to interview what we call the respondent. That's usually the company in which the person has waged a complaint against, and then to make a recommendation. And that recommendation is reviewed by our legal staff, and then it is reviewed ultimately by me, and as well as then a final recommendation or information is given to the board. But it's also reviewed back by the federal agencies. All of our information goes back to EEOC, and all of it goes to HUD. And then their folks look at it. And so,
if there's some bias in terms of your evaluation of a case, then there's a possibility that you can be overruled. Is that what we're saying?
Well, definitely. It's to make sure that there are a lot of eyes looking at things to make sure we've covered all aspects of the law. I will say that I have not seen in the year and a half that I've been there, and I'd really heard it before, where really an investigator has an opportunity to have a bias, because you have to look at things in the strict letter of the law. So when somebody files a complaint, what they do is that they fill out a complaint form. They can call our office, go to our website, have one mailed to them, and that information is taken down. They're going to list witnesses, things like that, and then we're going to send out a formal letter to that company, or let's say, or to that landlord in the case of housing or something like that, for them
from your office,
from our office. And many times when I have spoken at forums, I spoke at one in Jackson not long ago, in which there were a number of employers there who were talking about the cost of diversity. And one of the things I spoke about was that when companies don't put an internal complaint process in, by the time when somebody files a complaint with us, they're having to spend a lot of money, because they have to, by law, answer that charge. They can't look at it and say, oh, that's
just forget it.
Forget it. By the time it gets to us, they've got to answer it. And we have mediated a number of cases, which is a real strong program that we have with us, where people are not necessarily admitting guilt, but where the parties want to get together and work it out. And you would be surprised that sometimes that it has only taken an apology from a supervisor to somebody.